A while ago, I made a series of videos, two videos, called the Nato K Slop Fest. And at the end of the second episode of the Nato K Slop Fest, uh, I had watched seasons 1 and 2 of Ari Fureta. And I had said, well, when season 3 finishes airing, I'll watch that and it will be the next episode of the Nato K Slop Fest. I actually did make that video. But while making that video, I think some people might actually have wanted to watch it, but I deleted everything. It didn't go to plan. I did end up watching Ari Fureta season 3 and a bunch of other shows, but it ended up, just instead of being like a not okay focused situation, I ended up just watching increasingly worse anime as a sort of gimmick, but I only switched to that halfway through, and then just wasn't having any fun by the end of it because I was just watching increasingly worse anime that were just boring. And so I just ended up scrapping the video and I deleted all the footage, which now that I think back, probably a shame. I think that might have been kind of fun to watch, but I thought because I didn't finish a couple of the shows, like it was kind of defeated the purpose of the whole laying around watching format. But then I remembered there's a thing called the finish or fail format, which is a different entirely thing. So consider that. Look, all I'm saying is I've been trying to figure out ways to make videos that are about this bullshit for a while, and frankly, although I'm very happy with how my complete guide to cute girls came out, can't do that infinitely, for a number of reasons. It just took a long time and a lot of effort, and the writing process was very fun. I liked writing the video. I didn't mind recording the video, but editing is another question. Editing those kinds of videos is like the most boring kind of editing. It takes forever. You got to find loads of clips for loads of different things, and it's just really boring. And I just didn't really want to do that. So that's one reason, and then the other reason is I I don't really know how to write very well about anime. Like I've done it before, but I'm not quite sure how. I tend to try and focus on a sort of something outside of the anime itself. Um, so I don't know, and I'm not like the best writer in the world. I think I'm probably not terrible at writing, but I don't know if my writing is that engaging. Anyway, all of that stuff aside, I've been sort of, I think most like anti-tubers are pretty much fucking garbage. Like the videos they make just add nothing to the world, and I also just feel like I don't really want to participate in that. Like I don't. Sure, I could make a highly edited and written and produced video about, at least by my standards, about some show that I like or some show that I found interesting. I've even had a couple of ideas. For example, comparing Ari Fureta to Shield Hero. Like those two shows are similar in a lot of ways, and I think there's a lot of interesting comparisons you can draw between them. Um, talking maybe in more depth about Sokushi Chito, that show that everyone hated but I loved, with the really, really ridiculously overpowered main character. And I still might make that video at some point. I don't know. But frankly, I'm not a professional YouTuber. I don't particularly want to be a professional YouTuber. Making videos that get a lot of views just results in getting a lot of comments from people who don't know who I am, who like YouTube commenters are just really the worst. Like they're just so bad. Anyway, and that's just like not fun. I don't know. In a lot of ways, although I feel like I'm pretty proud of the video I made, it's not necessarily something I want to keep doing, that particular style. If I have something similar and enough motivation, I'll do it again. I probably will do more like that, but like not right now. And so I'm still trying to find ways to talk about my otaku hobbyism and make this the year of the otaku, um, and turn that into content, because that's what we're all here for. And frankly, yeah, the best format I've found to do that is just this format, where I watch some anime and talk about it while I'm watching it. The reaction videos, basically. I think they're kind of fun to make. I like talking about it, the anime, while I'm watching it, and there's not too much pressure to make my thoughts like super coherent or anything because it's clear that I'm just making it all up on the spot. But simultaneously, I hope they're fun to watch. I don't know if people enjoy watching them, but maybe they're fun to watch. They get some views. It's not like I really care about that, but I don't want to just put like literal garbage on the website, you know. Does it really have a purpose to existing? No, not really. But it does. It just kind of makes it fun to watch anime. Makes it fun to talk about anime. Get some of you guys' opinions and recommendations in the comments. If I say I like something, people often will give me recommendations, which is nice. So like, yeah, I think all around this format like kind of works. So that's the intro segment of the video. Now for the premise segment of the video. So I have been watching a lot of isekais. I did do this video about Frieren, and part of that video was like, oh, I'm gonna watch like good shows. But then I started watching some good. I don't know. I watched whatever. That's actually not relevant. Let's talk about this video. So I've been watching a lot of isekai for the past few years, and I consider it to be somewhat my duty to like, you know, as a neat otaku with nothing else to do, like no one else has the time and will to give these shows a chance. And so I consider it my duty to be the guy who goes through them all. So I should stop. I have a habit of like fiddling with this tripod that I'm holding the camera up with. And it's probably really annoying, like probably making noises and shit when you're watching. So I kind of consider it my duty because no one else is going to do it. And I do occasionally find diamonds in the rough. There are a few shows that I found that have really low ratings or really low view counts, where I'm like, actually, you know, that show was pretty good. Like Sokushi Chito, like that show was great, batshit insane, completely did not have good scores, did not have lots of members on whatever anime tracking website you choose. There's a few other ones. Ari Fureta is also kind of like this. Like Ari Fureta is a show that generally most people like don't like. They consider it like pretty slop level tier isekai, and I would agree, especially on the first sort of 2/3 of season 1. And so I think a lot of people sort of dropped the show and didn't pay it any more attention because they just sort of sat through season 1 and it wasn't very good. But towards the end of season 1 and especially seasons 2 and 3, show really picks up and becomes much better in my opinion. And I'm kind of have like I don't know why. Like I couldn't sit down here and like actually tell you, you know, Ari Fureta as a series is like genuinely good. But I have like a weird affection for it somehow. Like it somehow it spoke to me, even though I couldn't really articulate why. Like I can articulate certain things I like about it, but also there's a lot of aspects where I'm like, well, this is like it's kind of boring. This doesn't really work. Blah blah blah. But also like I keep thinking about it. It sticks in my mind. It sticks in the back of my mind. Like I can't stop thinking about Ari Fureta. I even wrote a fucking song about Ari Fureta. The song World's Strongest off of my album Inus is about the plot of Ari Fureta, if you listen really closely to the lyrics. Then there's other shows. There's shows that people fucking hate that I thought were like... what I'm trying to say here, what I'm trying to tell you, I went through every isekai, at least for the past 4 years. 4 or 5 years. I searched and found every single isekai. I went through all of them and found the ones that looked interesting because I found it harder and harder to find anything that actually looks decent and that I haven't already seen. And it's not just decent, but interesting. Like there are shows which I think are probably not that good, right? Like let me see, looking through some of these shows, like okay, Infinite Dendrogram. Like Infinite Dendrogram, I'm not surprised that this show has a 59% average score on AniList, right? Like that is really low. And I'm not surprised. Like, I'm pretty sure that this show is probably really bad to most people, but it also look kind of interesting to me. I don't really know how to explain it, but it looks interesting to me. Like, that's the sort of thing I've been looking for. It's just anything that looks like, there's some shows here like Maojo de Oyasumi, right? Like Sleepy Princess, basically. uh, that show, like, I think that's probably just a genuinely good, entertaining anime. But then there's other shows that I feel like I'm trying to let me give me. So I watched an anime at one point which is called Mobukara Hajimaru Tansaku e Yutan. Okay, and this show has a 57% mean score on AniList, and it's a 5 point something on Mao. So anything in the 50% or 5 point somethings is like generally considered to be hot garbage by the wider population. And I watched this show, and there was some massive problems with it, especially like weirdly production issues and like audio mixing issues. However, I also found this show to be like completely watchable. Like, I wouldn't say it was super memorable or particularly good in a lot of ways, but like I thought it was fine, um, and like kind of entertaining, and clearly it's stuck in my mind because I remember that it exists. That's the kind of thing I'm looking for, and it's just become harder and harder to find entertaining isekais at all. Because I guess at this point I'm kind of attached to the genre. Um, So I have found 10 isekais, maybe 11, depending on whether I watched that one. 10 isekais or isekai adjacent, things that look like isekais. I don't know if some of them are actually, but which I have gone through the past 5 years of isekai and filtered out just looking for the ones that seem interesting to me. Again, not necessarily good, but interesting. And I plan to give them all a try. And we're starting off with A Journey Through Another World, Raising Kids While Adventuring, aka Isekai Yururi Isekai Yururi Kiko, Kosudate Shinagara Boukensha Shimasu. Okay, we got through it. This is a show from 2024. I didn't watch it because it looked. I've known about it, but I didn't watch it before because it looked like the production value was like really, really bad. The art and animation quality in particular just looked sort of shockingly bad. And it doesn't have a particularly good score. People don't generally like it. It has like a 66% on AniList. However, I've been watching. I'm on episode 4. It's actually really good. It's genuinely really good. It's nothing crazy, but it's extremely wholesome. It's like the most wholesome isekai I've ever seen. I'll have more thoughts on it when I finish the show. But it is just like, there are some isekais. There's like a subgenre of isekai, which is, you could call it the slow life type isekai. But it's basically, initially, you have isekais / fantasies as a genre. And a lot of them have like this OPMC archetype or trope where the main character is very overpowered. And in some cases, or in the majority of cases, they just sort of use that to be the coolest and best and strongest guy and take over the world and defeat the dark evil guy and whatever the fuck, right? But there is a subgenre where there's people who have the OPMCs, but instead of using their powers to do anything of import, they just use the fact that they're powerful to justify just chilling, just hanging out, helping people. There's quite a few shows like this, and this one is one of the. It is the most to that kind of show. Like, very overpowered characters who do absolutely nothing special. At least so far, they just do their dailies from the Boukensha Guild. They just do their fucking dailies. They don't do anything special. They just do their dailies and hang out, and that's it. And you might think given the fact that it's about two adorable children in another world, that this is like some lolicon fan service thing. It's not. It's zero fan service in this show. Absolutely zero. It is purely wholesome. Just about what it means to be a father, I guess, and that sort of thing. It's pretty chill. It's actually super chill. It's like crazy chill. Like there's no conflict. There's no plot. Nothing happens. It's pure slice of life. And if you know me, you know that that's my shit. So I'm excited to keep watching it. I'm excited to finish it today, for sure. And then we'll keep watching some other shows, I suppose. You see this thing? You see how it has all these fucking holes in it? I didn't do that. Like, I didn't scratch it or anything. And obviously it didn't come like that. That is where it has melted or something. Because my next door neighbors, at a certain point a few years ago, built an extension to their house that it has a glass roof. And every day when the sun is wherever it is right now, that glass roof is perfectly angled such that it reflects the sunlight just directly into this window, like a fucking focusing parabolic mirror. And presumably it like is so hot, like you can feel it, and it's hot to the touch. It's pretty warm. It's like not so hot that I can't keep my hand on it, but it's like borderline. Like and I'm pretty sure that's what's caused it. Just this thing getting so hot. Anyway, it fucking sucks because it you can see the sunlight peeking through it. It's actually not so bad right now. I think like a cloud just went in front of the sun. Yeah, but anyway, I just finished that show, Isekai Yururi Kiko, and it was pretty great. It was pretty good. Definitely, animation quality wise and art wise, pretty low tier, right? But it doesn't. It's pretty. Actually, this is a pretty good demonstration of why that sort of thing doesn't matter if you have a good story to tell, which I think most people would intuitively agree with, but still, a lot of people are going to see something like this and automatically write it off because it looks cheap. And it looks cheap because it is cheap, but at its heart, it has a very nice sort of wholesome story to tell. And that's pretty much how I would describe this show. In one word, would be just wholesome, slice of life goodness. And it's not a cute girls doing cute things show in the same way that you might think of one existing. It's just a pure slice of life with isekai overpowered main character stuff going on. Nothing much changes about that throughout the show. If you watch the first episode, you pretty much understand what's going on for the rest of the show. And I personally quite enjoyed it. I am sort of sitting here wondering whether to give it something between a 6 or a 7 out of 10 in terms of rating. And now AniList does have the capacity to give anything any rating on a percentage scale, so I could very easily just write this as a 6.5 out of 10. Very doable. But I don't like the 0.5 ratings because I've never given them in the past, and so it screws up my stats. But you know what? I'm just going to do it. I'm going to give it a 6.5. I'm going to give it a 6.5. I'm going to give it a 6.5 because there's nothing particularly special about the show, right? Like, it's just solid. There's nothing watching it that would make it particularly memorable or meaningful in any way. There's really just not much to it. It's pretty much just like the purest slice of life you can imagine. Like nothing much really happens in the show. And that in itself is enjoyable. I'm not sure how, I tend to be very positive to slice of lifey stuff, and this is, oh yeah, you can see the sun's back out now. Fucking piece of shit. I've tried to put like tape. I don't even know if we can see it, but there's like tape covering it. It does nothing. The tape does nothing. It's ridiculous. This is why I hate being awake in the daytime. Anyway, it's a little hard to describe the show even because so much nothingness happens. Like, pretty much, there's never any tension. Honestly, I might bump it. You know what? I'm giving it a 7 for balls. I'm bumping it up from a 6.5 to a 7. Because I don't really like giving 0.5 scores just because I've never done it, and it's not like scores actually matter. Scores don't matter. Like, you can't actually summarize how good a show is based on a score. So it's like, let's not be crazy here. I think I might have to bump it up to a 7 just out of respect for what it's trying to do. Because there are slice of life shows, they exist. But this is like the sliciest of lifeiest. Like, there's a lot of shows that people say nothing happens. Like, this is on the level of the first episode of Lucky Star type of slice of life. Like, we're talking very nothingness is happening here, and I gotta respect that. Most people wouldn't have the balls to write something like that. And it's done pretty well. Like, it's not really a comedy. It's got action, but it's not really an action because none of the fights ever pose any threat at all to our characters. It's not really. I said it was about the nature of parenthood. It's not really about that. Like, there's not really any questions about that at any point. It's just daily life of these motherfuckers running around in the isekai world doing dailies and shit and exploring and making friends. That's pretty much it. That's pretty much all. There's nothing else to it, really. And either that's gonna click with you or that isn't. I think if you're depressed, this is what this is. It doesn't fit in the traditional band of Iyashikei, right? Like, it doesn't have the sort of art and the music and the pace that a typical Iyashikei show would have. But it is Iyashikei. Like, that's what it really is. It actually is a healing type anime. Maybe that makes more sense out of it, even though it doesn't have a lot of the aesthetics. It has the aesthetic character of an isekai, but the narrative of an Iyashikei, mixed with an isekai. Anyway, it's a banger. We're marking that. We go next. Something to note about figures is I just think they're probably not worth buying in the West unless you really know what you're doing and get lucky with a really good deal. Because even there are many ways to get completely ripped off with figures. But even the places that are considered relatively better deals or smarter decision, a sort of, savvy consumer would go to X place rather than Y place, right? Even that, compared to Japan, you're still talking possibly, an order of magnitude more money for the exact same figure in the West versus Japan. It's just kind of baffling how expensive they are here. And until recently, I had just assumed that figures were just expensive, and that's just how it worked. But no, it turns out like figures aren't that expensive in Japan. They're actually often fairly cheap. Like this Kuroneko one is actually like not a particularly expensive figure, even though she's pretty high quality in my opinion. In Japan, but it was fairly expensive here. Which I think is just silly. And so I'm probably not going to buy any more figures. Probably just going to have the two. Unless I find a really good deal, which I doubt will happen, or I go to Japan and just buy a bunch. Which is probably too expensive to justify, but maybe not. The idea of going to Japan, it's still sort of bouncing around inside my skull as a concept. It would be such a good way to end the year of the otaku, would be to go to Japan in the winter and go on a huge shopping spree. But also, money exists. Money exists, and not enough of it. Not enough money exists. At least not enough in my bank account. So yeah, I don't know about that. I do like figures. I think they're cute. I think they're cool to own and shit. Like, but having just two is kind of weird. Like, having just one is like, oh, you have a figure of a character you particularly like. Having two is like you're starting a collection. I'm not really starting a collection. I just happen to have two. One of them was, I won't go into the whole story of how I acquired Kuroneko, but it's a I didn't pay for it. I'll just put it that way. I didn't steal it. That's the thing. I didn't steal it. Someone else bought it for me. But yeah. What was I saying? Right. I don't really want to buy any more figures, I feel like. Well, I mean, I want to, but in terms of cost effectiveness, probably not what I'm going to be doing. And the second thing is posters and tapestries and whatever. Again, I think I've been getting kind of ripped off for these guys. I think if I want to really round out this room, get rid of all of the eyesore aspects of it, probably gonna want to find cheaper ways to obtain posters and shit, because it's getting a bit expensive at this point. Yeah, I don't know. We're in a strange situation. Something I noticed looking through some images and pictures and videos of Japanese Itabea is that big difference is mine are fucking tiny, right? Compared, like, they tend to have really big tapestries. Maybe the rooms are just smaller. I bet it just looks bigger in comparison. But this room's not like that. This room's pretty small. Like, I feel like my posters are just particularly small. Like, a lot of the otaku I see, the otaku rooms I see, they just have like really big posters, towels, tapestries, daki covers, that sort of thing, posted up. Much bigger than what I have. And I don't know why I went with small sizes. I probably could have afforded to blow them up a little bigger. Some of them high res enough. But I only really have this Ikamusume one as like particularly big. The other ones are all fairly small. Some of them are really tiny, like the Chino and this Strike Witches one, for example. Yeah, I don't know. We're just kind of... I gotta keep thinking about how to cost effectively get this room more otaku-y. This space is going to be filled in pretty soon, at least partially. I have some plans. So that's... And once that space is filled in, I think this wall is mostly done. And then I got this back wall to start worrying about. Which is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 posters, maybe 5 posters ish. I'm not gonna cover this section probably because like stuff sort of rubs up against it. Maybe I will if I find myself running out of space at a later date, but that's not a high priority. Yeah, anime. Am I a poser? That's my question. My question to you is, I feel like I'm a poser oftentimes. there was this when I just feel like there was a period where I was like for a while considering basically resting on my laurels, but at the same time, I don't know how much I want to get into that. This isn't really relevant to the video. This is kind of its own tangent that I've decided to just go on. Um, Pretty much like how do I put this? I'm trying to maximize for time, seeing what sort of things I want to do with my time. Do I want to spend more time reading eroge? Probably yes. I think the quantity of eroge I've actually completed is like embarrassingly small. Um, Frankly, I think the quantity of anime I've completed is embarrassingly small. Like I haven't even seen 1,000 shows. Like I think that's pretty embarrassing. Uh, I could definitely. I think if I keep up this pace, I'll probably. I think if I keep up this pace, it might be possible to watch 1,000, like to reach 1,000 shows watched by the end of the year. Um, I don't know. That'll be pushing it. 900 maybe. 1,000 might be pushing it. If I watch a lot of like music videos and shit to pad out the list, I might reach that level. I don't know. Um, but frankly, yeah, it's just been like last year I watched barely any anime at all, and then the year before that I also uh like I just sort of been gradually down on like a sort of downward slope. Like I reached a peak at some point, and then I had sort of like gradually been watching less and less anime. But then this year I've gone super back into watching anime. And I think I'm watching more than I have at any point in the past, more consistently. Like I'm pretty much watching at least some shit every day. Um, but at the same time, like I don't really consider just having watched a bunch of anime to be like super. How do I? Like I think. Uh, Uh, I've also rewatched a lot of shows, so that doesn't, yeah, but whatever. Like, I think, whatever. I don't know how to put this into fucking words. I just finished this one. If it's for my daughter, I'd even defeat a demon lord. Um, it was okay. It was actually it was pretty bad personally. I think I'd probably give it a 5, maybe even a strong 4. Um, I, I watched these two shows back to back. I don't even fucking remember what the previous one was called, but the previous one is the two blue-haired kids. They're both very similar shows, right? They're both about guy from a fantasy world, guy in a fantasy world, finds child slash children in the woods, and then does adventuring stuff while taking care of them. They're both very similar premises, but this one's just worse. It's just worse in pretty much every way. Other than maybe the art is like slightly more detailed and whatever. But it's just less interesting. Like it doesn't really have any central gimmick, or I mean, it does in the premise, but like it doesn't have anything. Like in the previous show, they went around and like helped people, you know. In this one, they don't really do that. There is a bit of tension between, like, well, the main character's job is very violent and often involves killing people and demons, and he has adopted this demon girl. But that never gets addressed. Um, yeah, it's not really an adventure, right? Like the previous show I'd watched is like kind of an adventure, even though it's extremely slice of lifey. This one, I'd say it's a bit closer to a comedy, more like a straight up comedy. But I don't know. I just didn't really like it that much, to be honest with you. Also, much more clear. I would say pretty clear that this one made via Lolicon for sure. You can just tell. The previous show, not lolicon shit at all. Just purely innocent. This one, definitely not. You can. It's not got fan service in it or anything like that. It's not got like lewd scenes or anything like that. But you can tell. Also, you can tell the guy who made it is a furry as well. It's got, and you can tell that they're a furry not just because there's furry characters. Like there's lots of shows that have furry characters in them or whatever. This one, the thing that indicates how much of a furry they are is the focus on tactility. Furries are big into the idea of like being very fur, very very fluffy. I don't know. I can just tell. Okay, it's just very obvious. But yeah, I don't know. I'd probably give it a 5. It was maybe even a 4 if I'm being like particularly harsh. There were some good aspects to it, I suppose. The main girl is pretty cute. They put her in a lot of cute outfits. That's kind of fun to watch from time to time. Um, there's a little bit of kind of interesting lore, but I guess that's another big difference between this show and the previous show, is that this show doesn't really have that much like world building. Um, like yeah, it has a bit, but it's not very extensive, and it's pretty bog standard. Uh, yeah, I don't know. I would give it a 5. I actually did downgrade the previous show to a 6 from a 7 because I think I was just hyped from just finishing watching it. But on reflection, I downgraded it to a 6. If you're seeing any patterns here, you're not seeing any patterns here. Okay, let me just put that out there. I watched these two shows back to back because they were similar, and I wanted to compare them. This one's definitely worse. You should also. So when I'm watching the show and then finding out how the light novel ends, it was extremely obvious. Like uh, I'm sure it's going to be in the recommendations. This is the previous one. Isekai Yuriri Kiko. You wouldn't expect to end in the same way that this show ends. Like this show, the light novel ends. You know what? I'm not going to tell you. You could look it up yourself, but it's predictable. In a way that you would expect this show to end, you would never expect this show to end or this light novel to end, I suppose. Anyway, what's the next show? What's it gonna be? It's gonna be let's do a check. What do we got here? Um, we got Mao Jo de Ayasumi. We got this one. You're not seeing any patterns here. Okay, there's nothing to see that's patterns. There's no patterns. I'm gonna watch this one because this looks genuinely good. I need to watch something actually good. Okay. Dungeon no Naka no Hito. I just did some quick calculations, and if I keep watching anime at the pace I have been watching anime up until this point this year, then by the end of the year I will have watched 994 total anime. Because I will watch 164 shows this year, roughly. Maybe a few less, maybe a few more, right? But 909, according to my current pace, if everything stays the same, 994 anime total, 164 anime this year, which is not quite enough to reach 1,000 by the end of the year. So I've actually got to step the pace up. But the problem is that's not going to happen because next month I'm doing nothing but watching Precure, and Precure is all long as shit. So I'm actually going to probably slow down drastically. And then I'm probably gonna be burned the fuck out on anime. So I think the chances that I actually reach 1,000 shows watched this year are pretty slim. Unfortunately, unless I really fucking step up and just do nothing but watch anime for the entire year. Yeah, 164 shows out of 365 days. Well, that's not including what I've watched so far. That's just yeah, I feel like I could do better. But at the same time, I don't know. That's a lot of shows. I just feel like a poser because I haven't even seen 1,000 anime. Like, that's so cringe. I could also cheat and just watch a bunch of, like, music videos and, like, movies and shorts and stuff. Which is how, there's nothing wrong with that. I have a few music videos marked on my Mal. Um, obviously none of this really matters, but it's just like I don't know, I feel kind of ashamed about it for some reason. I found this guy on YouTube called Average Office Enjoyer, office relating to the Counter-Strike map, CS underscore office. And man, I haven't thought about playing Counter-Strike in years, but watching that guy just give some tutorials about how to, like, different smoke lineups, and you might think, Office, if you know about Counter-Strike, how does Office have smoke lineups? There's actually a lot of pop flashes, to be honest. Good pop flash lineups and stuff, and I thought, man, you know what? I kind of feel like playing some Office, because I thought to myself, I know I have a rule not to talk about TF2 on this channel, because if I break that rule, I would do nothing but talk about TF2. I haven't played TF2 in a while, I've just been watching anime recently. But, you know, the reason I like TF2 and the reason I switched from Counter-Strike to playing TF2 as my main game is because what I like, or what I used to like about the older culture and skill level of Counter-Strike was that you could sort of take the game not very seriously sometimes and then switch on a dime to tryharding. And that is exactly what TF2 is built for, right? You can play out most of a game with a meme loadout and then switch to your main when you see that your team is losing and carry them to victory. And that's like how I play TF2. That's just how I've always played games. And in Counter-Strike, you know, back in the day, I used to be able to do this, like, oh, we're winning pretty easily? Okay, I'll go for some silly shit. I'll do some 360 no-scopes and B-hop everywhere and, you know, just play really aggressive and do some dumb shit, right? And one thing I used to do, which I used to find so fucking funny, was that if someone called me out, like, why are you just rushing every round on CT? I would just get really close to the mic, and then I would just say, I have a really aggressive play style, like, even though it wasn't working, and then just they would be like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, what do you mean? And I would just shut the fuck up. It was so funny. But anyway, can't really do that anymore in Counter-Strike because the community is very, very tryhardy, very, very competitive, and that used to not be too much of a problem, but these days everyone's just too fucking good. And so if you're not also tryharding, especially me, who, I mean, I was never good at the game to begin with, but now I haven't played in like a year at least, or maybe more than a year. So I'm definitely going to be fucking garbage. So, like, it's not going to be possible for me to have fun, you know, not taking, you know, I don't know. I tried playing, like, the last time I played Counter-Strike, I just wanted to load up, like, some of the new maps that had been released. And the first game I joined into, I was instantly, like, accused of trolling just because I was missing my shots because I hadn't played Counter-Strike in a few years, or in however long, I don't remember, but I kind of don't want to relive that experience. But then I remembered that Office exists. Honestly, what I want to do is play Agency, but I don't think Agency's in CS2. I think they removed that map, which is a shame, but they still have Office for some reason. And I feel like people don't take that map too seriously, maybe we chill. I don't know, something for some reason I just have this temptation to play Office. But it will require installing like 30 gigabytes of Counter-Strike, which, because I don't have it installed on my computer anymore. I don't know if I want to fill up my hard drive with Counter-Strike, that I'm just going to play like 2 games of Office and then get bored. I don't know if that's really worth it. The other thing I've been thinking about actually is I've been watching so many isekais, which are all obviously like very RPG inspired, and this one, like in particular, this one's like very dungeon based. It's a dungeon based isekai. Well, it's not actually an isekai. It's just a fantasy. It's a native isekai. But this one's set in a dungeon. There's a few isekais that are mostly set in a dungeon. Or maybe I should just call them like Naruto shows that are set in a dungeon. But anyway, there's a few Naruto shows that are set in dungeons. And it got me thinking about the genre of video games. I don't think I've ever played a video game where I've cleared a dungeon. Like, I've played video games where I've cleared dungeons, right? Like, in... actually, I mean, I've played some JRPGs and shit. Like, I've played Dragon Quest XI and cleared dungeons, and I've played Pokemon and cleared dungeons and whatever. But I never played, like, a dungeon crawler. Like, this is literally a dungeon, not just the video game concept of a dungeon, but like quite literally like, you know, the very stereotypical concept of a dungeon crawler, and maybe a bit more of a lot more of a hardcore RPG, because I've never gone into RPGs and JRPGs. They often feel too easy to me, and I don't know. I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about let me see. What's this fucking game called? This game is called uh Etrian Odyssey. It's by the same guys that made Persona and Shin Megami Tensei. There's like three of them, I think. I think they were originally for. I think the original one's for 3DS, but it has a PC port. It's on Steam, and it's on sale right now. So I'm honestly thinking about picking it up and just giving it a try. It looks fairly hardcore and fairly grindy. I don't know if I'm ready to deal with that, but maybe my love for Naruto anime has prepared me for actually playing video games. Does that make any sense? Like, I feel like it would be appropriate. Does this make sense? I just feel like I'm in the mindset. I feel like I'm in the mindset where it feels suitable to me. Like when you play Office in Counter Strike, you guys don't probably know about Counter Strike, but the particular map Office is very 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 old map in Counter Strike. Been around since the early days of Counter Strike, and it's just corridors. So like it feels a lot like Half-Life 1. It's just like a bunch of very thin corridors. So it's all very, very choky, right? And it's also a hostage map. So hostage maps tend to be really, really T-sided. And so most of the game is just throwing smokes and then throwing more smokes and just waiting for smokes to clear and that sort of thing. And you're pretty much guaranteed to lose most rounds on CT and win most rounds on T, and it's just like, and that's kind of a fascinating concept, I guess. How do I explain this? It's like a lot of people think hostage as a game mode is unbalanced because in the diffuse game mode, right? In the diffuse game mode, it's fairly balanced T and CT. Like CTs actually have a very small advantage. I believe, but it's mostly 50-50 no matter which half you're playing. But Hostage is very, very T-sided as a game mode. And a lot of people think that's like a big bad thing about Hostage. But I don't see why. Like, you play both sides. It just makes the game asymmetrical. But that's kind of fun. Like, and having an asymmetrical shooter is kind of a fun concept. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'll. You know what? I have Counter Strike Source installed. Maybe I'll just try and find a game of Office on Source. Surely that exists. Surely I can find a server running Office in Counter Strike Source. Maybe. But I'm also thinking about. I don't know. Maybe I'm just kind of want to play a video game. Should we see what happens? Let's just see what happens. I also kind of just want to finish this show, so I don't really know, but. And this anime makes dungeon crawling look so fun, and I've been watching so many like isekai. I don't know, man. I got brainwormed. I'm like, I need to crawl a dungeon. I tried playing some CS Office. I played like 2 rounds of CS Office in Counter Strike Source, and then remembered exactly why I stopped playing Counter Strike, and then stopped playing. I have then spent like an hour deliberating over what like Japanese dungeon crawling RPG I wanted to play, and eventually landed on Etrian Odyssey. So this is what we're doing. We're playing Etrian Odyssey something. I hold on. I need to decide which difficulty. Now, I watched some reviews, and even people who said that they were really, like, even people whose channels were all about playing JRPGs, they were like, this game is hard. Now, I've played precisely, like, 2 JRPGs, so I don't know, but I'm gonna fucking go. I don't know. For the gamer cred, I gotta go on basic, right? I'm definitely, there's no question I'm not doing expert. It's between easy or normal difficulty. Look, if this is too hard for me, I can always just restart with a lower difficulty, I suppose. So I'm just going to go on normal difficulty. First-time players or RPG enthusiasts, difficulty can be changed during the game. Okay, we're fine. We're fine. It changed during the game. You know what? I might live stream this. I don't know. I might live stream it. I don't know what I'm going to do. But I'm trying to play through as much of this as possible within 2 hours so that I can refund the game on Steam so that I can remind myself that I don't actually like playing RPGs. Okay, well, I literally full party wiped in the tutorial level of that game. I think it could be fun to give it another try, but for now, let me finish this fucking anime. Something I kind of struggle with in general is, by the way, I'm making this episode a bit more slice of lifey because the shows I'm watching, I mean, I have shit to say about them, but also I don't have a theme really, besides they're all fantasy shows from the last 5 years, but they're pretty much a random selection of mid to low tier fantasy shows that I don't really have much of a through line for. So I'm just making this a little more slice of lifey. You're all okay with that, I presume? Something I struggle with is trying to balance the my lifestyle around the concepts of Western versus Japanese otakudom, which I know, such a complex struggle, that must be so hard. No, thank you. That must be so hard for you. No, but I think about it a lot. I often feel like, while there are many Western otaku who I respect, who have very much Western otaku sensibilities and lifestyles, I also feel like ultimately we're all trying to approach the true form, which is whatever Japanese motherfuckers were getting up to, at some point from like the 2000s into the 2010s and to this day. And possibly earlier than that. I don't know. Timescale's not really relevant. Don't know why I brought it up. But one aspect of that is the anime centrality of the whole thing. There is a Japanese equivalent to My Anime List or AniList or AniDB or whatever. It's called .lane, and lots of people use it. But as I understand it, and I don't know how streaming has changed this in Japan, so my outlook is probably outdated. I'm almost certain that it's outdated and streaming has changed this because it took a while for streaming to catch on in Japan, but it definitely has caught on by now, for sure. I know that as a fact, but I don't know in what manner it's caught on. But what I do know is that at least historically, recent history, but historically, a major distinction between Western otaku and Japanese otaku is the simple fact that anime airs on TV over there. And a big part of otaku culture is staying up late to watch the late night anime. And late night anime, you can go on .lane and you can see. I think it's on .lane. I forget which website. There's a Japanese website that catalogs a big, giant spreadsheet of every TV show, every TV channel, and which anime are airing every night that you can check. I think it's on .lane. I might be on a different website. I forget. But there is a website like that which catalogs every night. You can check it, or every day, and you can check the TV schedule and see which anime are airing when and on what channels. And one thing I noticed from going through that, a lot of reruns. It's pretty common. I had assumed that people would mostly be watching seasonal stuff if they were watching it on TV. But no, actually you see loads of reruns. I'd say it's like 50-50 new shows to reruns. At least when I checked, that might have just been a random chance, but either way, you're generally watching. It seems like the JP otaku lifestyle is during the daytime, you read your mangas, you play your vidya, you play your eroge, and then in the evening and in the night is when you watch your anime, but you're generally watching one episode per show of whatever's airing. Whereas the Western otaku lifestyle tends to be much more anime centric. It tends to be about sitting down and just watching anime all day, marathoning it, which is kind of what I do, but also kind of what I've been trying to get away from for this reason, that I feel like it's fake because it's Westoid shit. It only makes sense when you're not watching anime on TV. But at the same time, I do have to accept at a certain point that I am a Westoid, and I'm not watching anime on TV, and things are different here, right? The practicalities are different, and so on. But that is something I've kind of, effectively what I'm getting at is that because that's the commonplace setup, right? That in the West, it's very common for otaku to have seen just shitloads of anime, just like hundreds, if not thousands, of shows, thousands and thousands of hours worth of anime, and to marathon anime constantly. And that's how I got introduced to the whole subculture, and that's what I do. And I much prefer marathoning anime compared to watching week by week. I generally wait for a season to finish before I go back. I don't actually remember the last time I watched a show week to week. It was probably 2023, I think. I don't like doing that because I find it hard to remember to check in on my shows week by week. And also I find myself just watching an episode and just wanting to see what happens next immediately. Like oftentimes by the time a whole week has passed, I've forgotten about the show. Like I don't care anymore, like I can't imagine watching one episode of a different anime every night and then circling back. Like that just seems like I can't wrap my head around watching anime like that. I'm sure a lot of people do, but and not just in Japan, but I'm sure a lot of people watch seasonal stuff like that in the West as well. But that's not how I do it. It's not how I've ever done it, and I don't like doing it that way. It just doesn't work with my brain. I like to sit down and watch a whole show in one sitting, ideally, or if not that, then make my way through a show watching like a few episodes a day for a while. Normally with like a magical girl show, where magical girl shows I find are like particularly poorly suited for marathoning, because they're very episodic and they're very long. So you can't really just sit down and watch the whole show in one sitting, and they tend to be pretty slow and pretty episodic. So it's not like every episode ends on a cliffhanger, and you really want to keep watching to find out what happens next. Instead, it's a sort of monster of the week situation. I find that magical girl shows are kind of tough to marathon, and if you do marathon them, it's not the best way to experience it. I prefer to watch like 1 or 2 episodes a day for a longer stretch of time. But I digress. The point being, I kind of feel like doing it this way, especially so. I hadn't realized how much I'd been slacking on anime until very recently. But like, yeah, I pointed out that last year I barely watched anything, but actually, like the past like 3 years, I really I wouldn't say I fell off of anime. I was watching shows, but compared to what I had been doing and compared to what I'm doing now, I had been not really into the shits. I'd not been really committed to watching anime very much at all, and I feel like it's embarrassing to talk about because this channel is, I'm talking about otaku stuff so much that I feel like revealing actually how little anime I've seen is kind of embarrassing. Like I haven't even seen 1,000 shows. Like I only hit 100 days watched literally yesterday, which is I find it pretty embarrassing to admit that on camera because it makes me feel like I'm a fake and a fraud. 100 days watched is about 2,000. No, it's exactly 2,400 hours. That's how math works. Which seems like a lot, but also doesn't seem like that much, right? For people who play video games, like I have 2,700 hours in TF2, although that is not the same that is much more than the number of hours I get when I add together the number of hours I have on each class. So clearly a lot of that was loading screens and having the game open while I'm like not actually playing it and stuff like that. But still, um, first, having been into anime for as long as I have been, that seems like a shockingly low amount of time. That seems like kind of like, yeah. And so I thought to myself, I've seen about 800 or so anime. Um, actually, quite a bit more than that, but like I'm in the 800s. And if I think if I like really lock in this year, according to my calculations, it should be very possible for me to reach 1,000 shows watched by the end of the year. And I think once you've seen 1,000 anime, you can pretty much call yourself like a fairly hardcore otaku, right? Like having seen 1,000 anime, I think that should be the. Do you know what I mean? That seems like the delineation between intermediate and advanced to me. Like having seen 1,000 anime, I think no one's gonna say like, oh, this guy doesn't even watch anime. Do you know what I mean? But also, I feel like to do that, I have to adopt an extremely Westoid um, attitude. Like to even desire that, I have to. But because I think in Japan, otaku is less about quantity and more about quality. Like it doesn't necessarily matter that you've seen a lot of stuff. It matters that you're dedicated to the stuff you like. Um, you know, uh, and I think that's something that's missing in the West, and I think it's something that's kind of missing with me also. And so I'm kind of stuck in this weird middle ground, especially having played that JRPG today, having played that dungeon crawler today, and thinking like, I could see myself spending a day playing that all day. You know, like I could see myself doing if I were to try and emulate a hypothetical Japanese otaku lifestyle, I could see myself, you know, playing that for a few hours, like a good few hours, and then watching anime in the evening. Like that, I could see myself doing that. But if I do that, if I adopt that modality of anime watching, there's no shot I'm hitting 1,000 shows watched by the end of the year. Now, 1,000 shows watched by the end of the year is an extremely ambitious goal, by the way. Like the chances that I actually hit that are pretty low. Um, I'll probably end up in the 900s for sure, but the high 900s. But 1,000 is really pushing it. I have to watch a lot of anime to hit 1,000 by the end of the year. It's doable, but I would have to hard commit to just watching shitloads of anime, basically. Uh, and yeah, in order to do that, I'd have to be yeah. It means well, like all of this. Did you understand what I'm getting at? Like I'm saying, this feels this whole. I'd be interested to hear just what are your thoughts on this in the comments, because like that whole attitude and the modality of otakuism that is required to achieve to desire those goals and to achieve those goals is very different, I feel like, from the way of the true Japanese otaku. Um, and I'm not sure how I feel about that. Like I'm not sure if that's a goal that's the sort of goal I want to pursue. Do you know what I mean? When like at the same time there are lots of like I'm not really a gamer, you know. Like I read visual novels and I play a lot of Team Fortress 2, although I haven't been playing TF2 lately because I've just been watching anime. But you know, I generally do. But playing multiplayer online shooters and whatever, that's a different thing from being a real gamer. You know, being a real gamer involves playing single player video games. Uh, and I think being a gamer is probably some sort of aspect of otaku culture, but it's not something I'm super interested in. I don't know if I'm uninterested in it, but I don't know if I'm interested in it either. I don't really know. I'm kind of lost, is what I'm saying. I'm kind of lost. Uh, yeah, yeah. Like, do I want to dedicate myself to anime? kind of not really, you know? Like, ideally, I want to be actually kind of more, I'm more interested in it as a medium from a conceptual level, from an intellectual level in eroge, to be honest, than anime. Um, I feel like it's deeper shit. It's deeper rabbit hole level, which is always interesting to me because I operate in extremes in general in life, and I feel like it also offers a bunch of stuff that anime can't offer, and in many ways it's just more respectable to me. But on top of that, it's also a whole world that I feel like with anime I've pretty much, even though I haven't watched everything, I know a lot of stuff, right? Like I may not have watched every show, but I'm aware of every show pretty much, right? Uh, that's obviously not literally true, but you know, hyperbolically, that's true. Whereas with eroge, I feel like I am somewhere close just because I've spent a lot of time on VNDB, especially with translated eroge, and I don't know how to read or speak Japanese. That's something else that I have to worry about. You know, people have been saying that I should learn Japanese. I've been thinking that I should learn Japanese, but also Nihongo wa muzukashii. There's also just so much more to learn when it comes to eroge, I feel like, for me, and that's something, and more to catalog and database, and that's something that's very appealing to me as an idea. But at the same time, because of my history of being a Westoid anime marathoner, I'm used to a little more instant gratification. I can sit down and I can get through 12 episodes in a day and have that happy feeling. Like 12 episodes in a day is pretty much nothing. Like one show in a day, I feel like I had a normal day of watching anime. You know, like if I watch 2 shows in a day or a 26 episode show in a day, then I feel like I watched a higher than normal amount of anime in a day. Then I feel like I worked hard. I earned something, right? Watching 12 episodes in a day, it's like I feel like, okay, well, I've completed that time to move on, and but I do get a sense of satisfaction out of it, right? And it's very much a sort of day type situation. Like most anime being 12 or 24 or 26 episodes means that most anime are completable within a day very easily. And that's like the sort of rhythm that I've gotten into. This like, well, if I have a project I want to do, that takes a day of watching, a day of dedication, and that's it. Whereas with eroge, this is not the case. Even the relatively short or medium length eroge are going to take multiple days to get through. And I suppose, they are split into routes, which does give you some aspect of that kind of thing. But even an individual route is often going to take like 2 or 3 days, depending on the pace you're reading at. Longer than that, even. And so there's a lot less of this sort of instant gratification aspect, which I feel like I shouldn't need, but unfortunately, being just disgustingly human at the end of the day, I do kind of require that. To keep me motivated, I need some sort of indication that I'm still going, that I'm making progress, or that if something's bad, it's going to be over with real quick anyway. If I'm feeling bored, it's like, well, I have to just stick this out for 2 more hours and then the show's done anyway. So it's like, may as well just keep watching. With an eroge, it's like if I'm feeling bored, it's like, well, I just have to stick this out for another 16 hours. Isn't so comforting. Do you know what I mean? So that's something, I guess, this idea of like, I feel like, and then not to mention that the modern otaku landscape, it seems to me, is much more focused on maybe a little more of mobage and VTubers, which is not something I'm interested in, really. Neither of those two things. And, that also kind of messes me up, because I'm like trying to emulate something that doesn't even really exist anymore. And just from like weird secondhand accounts that doesn't really make sense. It's just kind of a mythological idea I built up in my head of the true Japanese otaku, um, which doesn't even really make logical sense, and it's also kind of an embarrassing thing to care about to begin with. Um, so yeah, I guess I just have kind of a strange or a hard time balancing these concepts in my mind. Where on the one hand, I do enjoy marathon. I enjoy marathoning anime a lot. It's one of my favorite activities. Um, but I also feel like over time, I would really like to transition actually away from this. This is I still see this as kind of like a failure. Not hardcore enough. That I really want to be marathoning eroge. I want to be waking up. Just I've done this before with, but I've never done it with a moege before, which is something I really should do. Just reading all day for like a week and just blasting through a game. That would be just having that sort of super intense experience. Uh, very powerful otaku experience. That's something I gotta do. That's something I gotta do. Um, I guess that's what I'm trying to say, is I just have this, I have white guilt. I have white guilt about like stacking up crazy anime list stats as being a sort of Westoid maneuver, while simultaneously I have to acknowledge the fact that I am a Westoid, and I do enjoy that. So I don't know. I just finished Dungeon no Naka no Hito, and it was great. I really loved it. I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10 score. It's pretty good 8. Pretty much don't have much negative to say about that show. It's a show about this girl whose dad is like a ridiculously overpowered adventurer who trained her from a young age just insanely hard. So she is also fairly OP. Like, she's stronger than most people. She's considered like a very good adventurer, but not like to her dad's level. Not like insane, right? I mean, pretty insane compared to most people, but like not like god tier level power. Just really good at fighting. And so then one day her dad goes missing in the dungeon, so she goes in after him to try and find him. But then, as she's fighting one of the dungeon guys on, I think there's 10 levels in the dungeon. I think she was on level 9 or level 8, I forget. But she's fighting the boss, and then, what do you know? The boss is. I kind of don't want to spoil it because there's a great moment in episode 1, but the boss's, like, axe hits the wall after she dodges it and just goes straight through the wall. And she's like, what? I've never seen a wall break in a dungeon before. And then you see behind the wall, and there's just a normal looking like a bedroom back there. And the monster just stops and turns to the main character is like, oh shit, I fucked up. Like, can we stop the fight? I gotta go get someone in here to fix this. And basically, what ends up happening is the main character gets hired to work as one of the managers of this dungeon. And, the dungeon itself is pretty much a generic, stereotypical RPG type dungeon. But what's interesting and unique about the show's setting and world building is all the behind the scenes stuff, the behind the scenes functioning of what it takes to run and manage a dungeon, like a behind the scenes of a Disney park or something, where all the monsters are like the costume actors going through the underground tunnels, except it's all the back alleys and back rooms of this dungeon. and it's just a slice of life type of situation, pretty much. Show doesn't really have an overarching plot. There are big questions that are left up in the air that are not answered in the anime. Namely, I would say sort of three big questions are left unanswered. Number one, is the girl's dad actually still alive? Because she never finds him in the anime. Number two, sort of, who is this other girl who is the person who runs the dungeon? Like what's going on with her? Who is she? Why is she so ridiculously strong? Who was the person who created the dungeon, and why is she so dedicated to running this dungeon when she seemingly doesn't really get anything materially out of it? Like, what is really the purpose of the dungeon to begin with? That's a kind of a lot of questions, but it's all sort of one question, right? Like a bunch of related questions to that, and then also, it seems like this dungeon is actually not like other dungeons. Like other dungeons in this world are naturally spawning. This one was like artificially constructed and needs to be managed by people. What's going on with that? Like why? Like it was, that's kind of weird. And there's also questions about like, uh, where did the monsters come from? They come from this like demon realm, but like I guess it's not super important. But I kind of want to like, what's going on with that? Why do they come over? Like I don't know. But actually, that's kind of answered. There's actually kind of a whole episode that goes over that a little bit. But I'd like to see that answered in some more detail, fleshed out. It's just the world building is really good. There are some. If you're going in like, oh, I'm really curious what the answers to those questions are, you're not going to get them in the anime. I'm assuming they get around to that stuff in the manga at some point, but you're not going to find the answers to that in the anime. It's pretty much just daily operational tasks of managing this dungeon. And yeah, I think the show is super underrated. I think it's great. I think pretty much everyone could find something to enjoy from it. There's nothing off-putting about it. It's not got something interesting about the show, I guess, that is how casually it deals with death. Like, it's a fairly violent show from time to time, and although some of the monsters and the main characters and whatever have like it's more fleshed out than this, but let's just say a special ability that lets them respawn. It's not quite that actually. It's a bit more complicated, but let's just say that. There are also plenty of characters and monsters and whatever who don't have that, and they just die. And main character kills people. Both main characters just kill people straight up, perma kill, real kill people with blood and everything. Like people die in this anime, and the show is like very chill about it. Like absolutely, it is not treated as like a tragedy or whatever. It is like very matter of fact. Like both of these people are extremely strong, extremely seasoned warriors, and like they are not really bothered by the concept of killing people or killing monsters or dying themselves. Like death is something they're very used to and very accustomed to, and the show just sort of has a very matter of fact approach to the concept of death, which I find to be pretty unique and interesting. Also, I'd say although the production value of the show is not the highest, I think it has a pretty great art style that mostly makes up for that. Yeah, I don't know if I have that much else to say about it. I stayed up late to finish it because I'm sleepy now. I stayed up like an hour later because I wanted to finish it. But there are so many interesting little concepts and it's so many interesting little world building concepts in this show about how the dungeon is managed from behind the scenes that I gotta give it a strong recommendation. Dungeon no Naka no Hito. Yeah, great fucking show. Really glad I watched it. Good morning, gang. I just woke up and today I did a roll the dice and landed on Kamitachi no Hiro Wareta Otoko. So that's what we're gonna watch. And I already know that this show is good because I've already read the manga. but I read the manga long enough ago that I don't really remember it, other than that it's very chill slice of lifey, which is fun. I didn't do this on purpose, but it seems like every single show we watched so far, and a lot of the ones left to watch also, are all very much on the slice of lifey, laid back, chill side of the spectrum, um, rather than the big action packed side of the spectrum. Uh, yeah, this one I think is generally regarded as kind of a hidden gem. Um, but actually that rating is pretty low, so maybe not. But I've seen a lot of people recommend it. I liked it. I liked the manga. Um, I guess it's about a kid who lives in the forest and collects a big army of slimes, and I'm a big fan of slimes as a guy. Like I love slimes. Slimes are one of my favorite fantasy creatures. Maybe my favorite fantasy creatures. When it comes to fantasy, there are two things I like. I'm extremely dwarf pilled. I mean, look at me. I got the big beard. I'm trying to be a dwarf, trying to emulate dwarvenness in my life. When I played Warhammer, not 40k, I played with dwarves. I've always loved dwarves. I don't know why. Always had an attachment to dwarves in fantasy. Big fan of them. They're always digging too deep. You know, I get maybe it's because I was watched a lot of Yogscast growing up. That guy's a dwarf, and not only is he a dwarf, he's digging a hole. That's the crazy part about it. That guy, not only is he a dwarf, but he's digging a hole, diggy hole, right? Which is pretty crazy. Uh, Maybe it was that got me into my dwarf moded aspects. But big fan of fantasy dwarfs. Other fantasy thing I like, slimes. Big fan of slimes. I love slimes. They're cute. They're adorable. I love the Dragon Quest slime. One of the best pieces of character design, monster design ever put to screen, ever created by humankind. So simple yet so effective. Genius. Slimes, they're adorable. They're so squishy and made of slime, and that's cool. And slime girls are one of the best kind of girls. They're definitely one of the best kind of monster girls. There's no question about it. I'm a big slime girl enjoyer. But I'm not all about slime girls. I just like slimes in general. Um, they're just, I don't know, something about them is just cute. They're kind of, to me, slimes, they feel so intuitive as a creature that it's kind of weird that they don't exist in real life, if that makes any sense. I mean, we have jellyfish, which are basically slimes, and it makes sense. Like, if you think about it for a few seconds, like, there's no way slimes could actually exist. Obviously, there's slime molds. Slime molds are different things than actual fantasy slimes. Um, Fantasy slimes are basically like land jellyfish. Um, which, like, you know, if you think about it, doesn't really make sense as a concept, but also, like, if I have to remind myself that they're not real, because they feel very intuitive as a guy that would exist to me. Anyway, big fan of slimes. Let's watch Kamitachi no Hiroware Taotoko. Oh, this is something I didn't get from the manga. I don't know why they put this in. Characters keep going when they're impressed by the main character's skill. Like, more than, I don't know. Maybe it's supposed to be a running joke. I can't tell. Something that I've seen people do, and I don't know how to feel about this. Sometimes people will talk about Japanese stuff in English, and they'll say something along these lines, right? Like, oh yeah, they have these special kinds of Japanese clothes called wafuku, right? And it's like, but wafuku just means Japanese clothes in Japanese. Or like, yes, well, if you go to Japan, you can eat a special kind of Japanese style Chinese food, which is called chuka ryori. But chuka ryori just means Chinese food, or I guess technically Chinese cooking in Japanese. Like, it's like you can go to the. There's some times where, oh, like they have these special Japanese phones called keitai, and it's like keitai just means phone, or keitai denwa, cell phone, right? Like, but then at the same time, I don't know how to feel about that because at the same time, like chuka ryori actually is a distinct regional type. It's like saying American Chinese food is different from Japanese Chinese food is different from Chinese food. You know, like Japanese style Chinese food is actually its own unique flavor profile, combination of the two nations' taste palettes. Same way like Anglo-Indian food is different from actual Indian food. And like when people say keitai, like, oh, I bought a Japanese keitai, right? I saw a video. It was actually really interesting. YouTube channel Fami, great channel, did a great video about that. And it's like those phones, like, yes, keitai just does just mean like cell phone, but also it's a specific type. Like when you're referring specific, that is what they call them. But it's also the specific type of like 2000s flip phone that only existed in Japan, and they called them keitai. So it's like, yeah, they call smartphones sumaphore, right? That's like not. So I don't know how to feel about this. Like sometimes people will say like they have this thing in Japan and it's called exact name of the thing in English but translated to Japanese, right? And it's like I don't know if you should just call it the English name, but then at the same time saying the Japanese name in English also kind of has extra connotations that it's the Japanese style version of the thing. I don't know how to feel about that a lot of the time. Sometimes I'm like, you could have just said, you didn't have to say the Japanese name for that. That's just, but then other times I don't know how to feel. I think it's kind of a funny phenomenon. So I'm 6 episodes into Kamitachi ni Hirowareta Otoko, and I don't know if I'm liking it that much, honestly. I kind of feel like I should just drop this show because it's pretty boring. It just feels stretched out, especially compared to the manga. Like in the manga, pretty much things go by real quick. The pacing is much quicker. It feels like, I guess, because you just read manga faster than it takes to watch anime. But I feel like the pacing in this show is pretty agonizingly slow at parts. But also, I'd forgotten how generic this anime is. I had thought, as I remembered it, it was like kind of a unique-ish take on the genre, which is that the main guy is overpowered because he's tamed a bunch of slimes, and that's what's cool, is that he has like 1,000 slimes to do his bidding. And like that's a pretty cool concept for a character. I like that as a protagonist idea. But actually, it turns out that, yeah, he does have that, but also he's just like generally overpowered isekai protagonist to begin with. Doesn't really need the slimes, to be honest. And that's kind of boring. That's kind of a cop-out, it feels like. Like the idea of a guy who's like pretty weak, but it doesn't matter because he has 1,000 fucking slimes who will show up and fuck you up, or like do a task for him. Like that's kind of sick, I feel like. This one, the way it turns out, where it's just like, oh yeah, and also, by the way, he's also just like really good at every type of magic, and on top of that, like really good at hand to hand. Like he just doesn't have any weaknesses, which is not that unusual for an isekai protagonist. But it's not the sort of show I thought this was. I thought this was like about a specialist. I thought that there would be something more interesting about the main character's magic system and whatever, but that doesn't seem to be the case. And then just like I think I've just been watching too much fucking isekai, because if I have to watch another fucking group of people where one guy is absurdly overpowered because he's the isekai protagonist, and they have to go into a fucking cave and clear out a bunch of goblins, and then, oh no, the Goblin King shows up, but don't worry, main character's gonna make quick work of him, I'm gonna fucking kill myself. It's too much. It's too much. I've just seen too many of them in too short of a time span. Also, what's this article? Aniplex and Crunchyroll establish anime production joint venture Hayate. Aniplex jointly invested in establishing anime production joint value, developing and producing anime content for Crunchyroll. Okay, so it's pretty much over for anime. We've all known that for a while. Anyway, yeah, I don't know. This show not as good as I remember the manga being. I don't know if the manga was just better or what, but I like the slimes. Big fan of slimes. I already did a whole bit about that. Big fan of slimes. But it's very, very bland. It's very, very bland and straightforward. there are some parts that are interesting. Like I like the parts where he's like helping people, like in a non-generic way. Like the first thing he really does is clean out all the toilets. Like he gets to the town, like that's cool because it's like yeah, all of these fucking toilets and septic tanks, back in the day or Isekai Town. That's like something that you never see isekais deal with, and the way that he applies his slimes to it, and there's like it's all good shit, and it all goes back. Like there's a bunch of stuff going on with that, right? Like you've got an interesting application of a unique gimmick for the main character. You've got a unique or somewhat unique plot point, which is focused on actually helping the people in the town, not just doing a generic clear a dungeon type quest. And it also feeds back into some political goings on within the town in terms of like the funding of the town, why the toilets weren't getting cleaned because a certain noble was embezzling funds. And it's like there's it's not genius level writing, but it has stuff going on with it. It's a multi-layered plot, at least in some aspect, and that's kind of interesting. But yeah, it's a lot of it's just been the past two episodes have just been doing a fairly generic dungeon crawl. But you know what? I'm gonna stick it out. I can watch 6 episodes of mediocre anime. I've done it. I've done it many times. I'm really doing something that I never would have done in the past, which is like this. I would have just dropped this show. In fact, it used to be the case that I somewhat took pride in the fact that I would readily drop shows very easily. These days, I've changed my attitude. I think trying to drop as few shows as possible is better because I've gone back through some of my dropped shows, and there were shows that I dropped that I like. Some, for example, Yamano Susume season 2. Like I dropped that show in episode 3, I think, because of like one thing that happened, and I don't know why. Like a Yamano Susume season 2 and then 3, and then I haven't watched 4 yet, but I'll do that after this chunk of it. It's like gonna be it's in my rotation. Okay, it's gonna come up soon enough. Like turns out I fucking love Yamano Susume way more than like, and that part of like what had happened is I dropped it when there was a big melodramatic thing that happened, right? And at the time I was very anti-melodrama, and so I was just like, oh, okay, I guess the show's just going to turn into melodrama now forever, and I'm just going to... But it turns out that's the only thing like that happens in the entire show, and it's actually well motivated and functions as a common pedal point, to use a musical metaphor, for the main character's motivations throughout the show and overcoming, whatever. So like there's just been a few shows that I've come back to where I had dropped them, but I'd come back to them and I'd actually liked them, and that just made me start thinking like I gotta stop dropping so much shit, because I am just dropping stuff the second I don't like it. But at the end of the day, there's stuff that could turn out to be good. But also, like this show, I'm pretty sure is not gonna really turn itself around. To be honest, I might just drop it. Honestly, I'm getting kind of bored of this whole isekai situation. I've kind of burned myself out on watching all of these isekais. I need to watch something less generic. What looks less generic? You know what? I might just drop it. It's a shame. It's kind of a shame. I don't know. Let me think. I gotta think on it for a second. Yeah. I could finish it. Like, it wouldn't be impossible for me to finish this show. It's right on the border. It's like, this is why I give a 5, or maybe even a 4. Like, it's right on the border of, like, I could finish it. I would gain nothing from it. And I think the thing that pushed me over the edge is just thinking, like, I've already read all of this in the manga. Like, I think that's another reason I'm not getting that much enjoyment out of it, is that every time a plot development happens, I don't think, oh, that's a plot development. I think, oh yeah, I remember that, which is just like kind of, yeah. I'm definitely. I think it's we're gonna be dropping it on episode 7, which is pretty late to drop a show. But it's just a lot, man. It's just a lot. I'm gonna give it a 5. I'm gonna give it a 5. It's not quite a 4, I don't think. Well, there are some moments of really bad animation. Characters are pretty boring. I do like the slimes, though. There's not enough about the slimes. More focus on the slimes would have pushed the show up a little bit. But nothing interesting ever happens in the plot. And the slimes and their different types and their different evolutions and capacities and stuff, that's the interesting thing about the show, and there's just not enough focus on it. I don't know, it might be a 4, frankly. It might be a 4. I'm gonna give it a 4. Alright, let's find something a little more unique to watch. I'm thinking, let's go with some food-based isekais. And no, I'm not talking about, or fantasies, I guess. And I'm not talking about, fucking Dunmeshi. I've watched Dunmeshi, I didn't like it. I'm gonna go with Hime-sama Gomon no Jikan desu. This seems kind of interesting. Let's check it out. Hime-sama Gomon no Jikan desu. 'Tis time for daughter. No, 'tis time for torture, princess. Yeah. I don't know if I even want to be doing this, to be honest. I kind of just want to go play that fucking dungeon crawler and maybe a bit of TF2. Let's take a break. Let's take a break from anime for a bit. You know, I've been doing nothing but watching anime, and then I get distracted because I'm watching a show, and I end up like checking my phone. I don't really have anything to open on my phone because I deleted all my social media, so I end up like tabbing out and like fucking going on YouTube, and then I'm pausing the show and I'm watching a YouTube video, and like this is just clearly I'm just not there right now. You know, I shouldn't feel guilt. I shouldn't feel guilt. Right, yeah, I'm gonna go fuck around and do something else in my life for a little bit, and maybe come back to anime later in the day, I suppose.
Way aboard. Once again, Cheryl Strawberry is he having us again. For the Dorothy way aboard. Once again,
I did not then and don't now have much respect for what goes on. It's been on my mind and it's been bugging at me. Yeah, I've done a lot of things wrong. I'm not gonna say I've never done nothing wrong. Nobody here can say they've done nothing wrong.
Well, I have a this is the dumbest. I have a simple plan,
and here it goes.
Which is to just get drunk and watch anime. Yeah, we're doing it old school style, boys. I'm gonna watch this fucking show. I took a break. I played some TF2, reminded myself that game sucks. Played some Dungeon Crawler. That game too hard. And watched some YouTube. Yeah, bought some chicken. Went out to the shops because I'm not a real hikikomori. So I went out to the shops to buy some chicken and some fucking toilet paper because I ran out of toilet paper. And that's what real life is full of. Real life is full of running out of toilet paper, so you gotta go to the shops and buy more toilet paper. And yeah, I'm gonna watch this fucking Hime-sama Gomon no Jikan desu show. Today we will be drinking the finest fair trade white South African blend. Normally we don't fuck with white South Africans, but this is the closest I get to fucking with them. So let me give you the rundown on what actually happened yesterday. Yesterday I tried to watch the slime one, the slime isekai, that's not reincarnated as a slime. Guy who has lots of slimes isekai. Kami Hirawara Ta something something. And it kind of sucked. And I stopped watching it. And then I sort of started to pick around at all the other different shows that I had in my list of different isekais that I could watch. And I started watching the Princess It's Time for Torture anime. But that one was crazy repetitive. Like every episode is just she's in the cell, they bring her some food, and then they don't let her eat the food. And it's like, oh, the food looks so good. That's what she says. She's like, oh, the food looks so good. And then like, you can't eat it unless you divulge secrets. And she's like, okay, I guess I'm divulging secrets. And then she gets to eat the food. And then you get the B section of the episode, which is the exact same shit, but it's just different food. And that's every episode of the show. That's the whole show. And it's just too repetitive. It's really well animated. I think there are some people who would love this show, but it was just too fucking repetitive and like uninteresting, I guess, to me. Yeah, I don't know. I just ate when I watched it, so it was like I wasn't really. Didn't really make me hungry because I just ate. So I started watching that, and dropped it pretty early. Then I started watching Mao Jo de Oyasumi, and that was so similar. Like I didn't realize, but it was so similar to the previous show that it kind of blindsided me, and I was like, I'm not watching this right now. This has got to be a different. This has got to be a different thing. But then I thought, this is none of these are isekais. I want to watch a fucking guy with 2 strong powers and a harem go around defeating the Demon King or whatever the fuck. So I looked through my lists, and I ended up picking Jitsu wa ore saikyo deshita. So you're telling me I'm the strongest guy ever? What? That's the title in English, pretty much. And this is pretty much the epitome of generic kind of isekai. It's got some interesting stuff going on. And then I watched, and then it was around this time when I started drinking. I started drinking when I was watching these anime, but the timing was all off. This is what you didn't get from the video. Is that I started drinking like maybe 2.5 hours before I was going to go to sleep. By the time I started actually watching the isekai there's actually an isekai. It's actually a tensei isekai, Naroke, fucking anime. I was like, it was like I got time to watch like 1 episode and then I fell asleep. So I watched like 4 shows yesterday and finished 0 shows. I dropped every single show that I watched yesterday except for this one, which I haven't dropped yet, but I'm only on episode 2. So like I don't know if it's gonna be garbage. We're in a strange situation. I think I've watched too much shitty fucking isekai anime. I think we've gone too far. I think we've dug too deep, like the dwarves, like the dwarves. I think we dug too deep. I think I've given myself permanent mental damage, and I'm not enjoying myself anymore, and I'm not doing this for any reason. So I think I'm just gonna stop. I think this is just I've just pointlessly done this to myself for no reason, and I'm not having fun anymore. Like, it made sense in the past. Sometimes it was kind of funny to watch a bunch of bad isekai, but now I'm not doing that. I'm just kind of sitting through them and not really having fun, I guess. So I think we're gonna stop. I think this is just too much, and I think I've got to stop putting myself through this. I think I should watch some good anime. It's been so long since I watched anything good. I mean, that's not true. Dungeon no Naka no Hito was actually really good. But, like, that actually kind of spoiled it for me. Because that show was so good and original and interesting that, I mean, it wasn't anything mind-blowing or anything. But, like, it's just, we gotta chill. We gotta fucking chill. I gotta figure out something else to do with myself. Maybe I'll just go read visual novels today or something. I think I'm officially burned out because I am just... I'm trying to watch this show and like get invested. Like I'm really trying to get invested in the show and like pay attention to what's happening. And my brain is just saying no. My brain is just locked down, saying no. There is an invisible wall here. You may not pass. I just cannot. And it's not just this show. The past 3 shows I've tried to watch, I just cannot, and actually 4, like, there's something in my brain preventing me from getting invested. Not helped by the fact that these shows are actually kind of garbage. So it's like, normally it takes a high level of skill to force yourself to get invested in garbage isekais to begin with. And I've just lost whatever motivation or power was allowing me to blast through them. Because it is not working. It is not working. I cannot. That's it. I mean, I can't get invested in these fucking shows anymore. They've all blended into one. There's nothing to it. I need to watch a different genre. I need to watch something that doesn't have fucking fantasy powers in it. I need to watch something that is in a different fucking genre to reset my mental. I need to reset my mental. Something that isn't set in a fucking fantasy world. What have we got? What's airing? What's going on? Ah, yes, Kimetsu no Yaiba. That's what I'm gonna fucking watch. Give me season to year 2025. What's going on? What do we got here? Anything look good? Actually, none of these are good. Actually, I do actually want to watch this one. This is also an isekai, right? Or it's a fantasy. Not okay. This one actually looks good. But we gotta watch something else. We gotta watch something that isn't fantasy. I watched the first episode of House, but it's an anime girl, and did not fuck with it. I didn't mark it, actually. I should mark it. Dropped on episode 1. I'm a big fan of House. I love the TV show House. Anime House, bad. Bad anime. Any of this look good? My friend told me this show's good. I don't know if... I'll watch it when it's finished, I guess. Nito Kunoichi, this is a 55% score. That's pretty bad. That's pretty fucking low tier. Now that's not to say that I necessarily trust... Oh, they made a second season of Aharen-san? That's cool. I actually kind of liked the first season. I didn't finish it, but I remember thinking it was okay. There's a new Grisaya anime that's not going to be good because it's Grisaya anime. Saraido Utility. At this point, I'll just graduate as plain background character A. Blah 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 blah. Golf? Cute girls do golf? That sounds kind of interesting. Maybe cute girls do golf, but let's back it up. Let's back it the fuck up to a good era of anime. Let's go back to peak. Let's return to peak. What was going on back in 2007? Is there any shows in 2000? Let's go for like 2006. You know what? Let's not do any of that. You know what we should do? I've got like 3 of... I should watch one of these. I should finish Saint October. That's what I'll do. I'll finish Saint October. So I woke up with a strong craving for a Taco Bell chicken quesadilla, which is one of the greatest food items invented, in my opinion. What's fascinating about the Taco Bell chicken quesadilla is you barely get any chicken. Like, it's mostly not that. It's mostly cheese. But what makes it is the sauce. I don't know what the fuck smoky chipotle, sweet chipotle sauce it is. It's really good, in my opinion. And it may just be because we didn't get Taco Bell in the UK until like a few years ago, so it's kind of novel to me. But, you know, there's something about that Taco Bell chicken quesadilla that just really hits. And so I woke up, it's been ages since I had one. I should go get one. So I look on delivery and see how much it's going to cost. And obviously a chicken quesadilla, it's a good amount of food, but it's probably, generally speaking, if I'm ordering delivery, I'll get more food than I need because the delivery cost stays the same, right? So you benefit from economies of scale by ordering as much food as possible and keeping it in the fridge. So, like, let's say I got the chicken quesadilla and some other cheap, low value savings menu type burrito or something, right? I think it would have come out. I checked it out on the delivery app, It was about £14 something. £14 something. So then I thought to myself, that does sound really good. But £14 something, that's pretty expensive. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to give myself a budget. I'm going to say, okay, let's try and spend about £14 something. I'll go to the store. I'll walk myself to the shop, and I'll see how much food I can buy for that much money. So I went to the shop. Answer, oh my god, no thank you, discovers the groceries are cheaper than takeout. Who could have possibly thought this would be true? Yeah, but the degree is what I'm trying to point out here. Like, I thought, worst case scenario, I can buy the ingredients to make a chicken quesadilla myself. Not a big deal. I get to the shop, immediately my plans are scarpered. No chicken. What? How do you not have any chicken? There's just no chicken. They got all the other... No chicken, and also... The other meat that I often buy is like the cheapest possible brand of sausages, which is, I've done the calculations, the cheapest meat you can possibly buy at that store is the cheapest brand of sausages. They're definitely not good for you. They're definitely got mostly fat and like whatever, but it is pretty cheap. So, yeah, I go there. No chicken, no cheap sausages. They have other sausages, but not the cheapest brand. So then my plans are scuppered. So I'm just like, okay, well, I guess I can't make a chicken quesadilla, because I don't have any chicken. So let me just go around the shop and buy whatever I can find, try and maximize this £14 something. In the end, I spent a little over. It was about £15 something. But I counted and calculated the ingredients, the food I was able to buy for roughly the same price as one meal from Taco Bell was about 15 meals worth of food. Just buying food from the shops, because I can get about it pretty much evened out to £1 per meal when you do the math, and I'm buying a lot of cheap food, right? A lot of beans. You wonder why British people eat a lot of baked beans on toast? I'll tell you the reason. A can of baked beans is, in my local shop, 40p, and that's actually one of the more expensive own brands. You can go to Tesco and get them for 30p. But 40p for a can of baked beans, and the cans have enough baked beans to be 2 meals when you have toast with them. So I got 3 cans of baked beans. I already have bread, and the loaf of bread was about 70p. So per meal, I mean, it's less than 50p per meal. I'm pretty damn sure, right? It's super cheap. 3 cans of baked beans for 40p each. Each can is 2 meals of baked beans on toast. I mean, that's that's what I did. That's what I bought, and that's how you make your money stretch. On top of that, I bought some instant noodles, and then one thing I often do whenever I go to the shop, I try and buy like something strange. Not always, but oftentimes I buy something strange, something I'm not used to. We'll address the elephant in the room in a second. We'll address both elephants in the room in a second. But I often try and buy new foods, which is a good idea, because oftentimes they suck, but I generally stick to the cheap stuff. But I go to the canned section and the long-term storage section. I'll try and buy something new, because, you know, maybe 50% of the time it's whack, and I'm just like, okay, well, I know to avoid that in the future. And 50% of the time it's something good, and then sometimes it's something really fucking good, and then it becomes a regular item I buy. So eventually, I hope to have tried pretty much everything in the store and be able to know exactly what maximizes my money's value. So this time, what I ended up buying was a can of raviolis, beef raviolis, small can of beef raviolis for £1.10. And I just ate it for breakfast, and it was okay. It was perfectly edible. I would not buy it again. For £1.10, it's not really worth it for the amount that you get. Like, it's just not that much food. The can is mostly sauce. There's just not very much ravioli in it. And obviously, like, I don't have to point out that the ravioli tasted like shit, but like it didn't taste that bad. Like, it was perfectly edible. And in a situation where I can't be bothered to cook, it's a reasonable thing to eat. The problem is the quantity that you get, rather than, I mean, the quality was pretty much exactly what I actually expected it to be worse. It wasn't that bad. It was perfectly edible. If it was more value for money, if you got more raviolis in the can, I would probably buy it more regularly. But the quantity was simply too low. But now I know, and I've been curious about that ravioli for ages. I've always wanted to know what the fuck does ravioli from a can taste like. I tried it, and it was okay, and I'm never gonna buy it again because it was just not worth it. That's how you find out. Like, one time I bought fucking hot dogs in a can, which they sell here for some reason. I bought hot dogs in a can. The most disgusting thing I've ever tasted. It was so bad. But now I was always curious. I always saw hot dogs in a can on the shelf, and I was like, what the fuck is going on with that? So I eventually caved. I bought it like a couple months ago. Disgusting. But now I know to never have hot dogs from a can. Who could have possibly expected that? But on the other hand, there's stuff that I never tried that was just sort of random shit, and it turned out to be really good. There's for example, there's canned like chili con carne. That's I think £1.70 per can, but each can is big enough that I can stretch it 2 meals over rice. That stuff's pretty good. It's not quite as cost effective as making chili yourself from scratch, but oftentimes I can't be bothered to make chili myself from scratch. So, not a bad discovery. Another one is spam. I never ate spam growing up. I never knew anyone who ate spam. I don't know. No one around me ever ate spam. It seems like Americans know about spam. Lots of people know about spam. I didn't know about spam until I just tried it randomly. But there's other stuff. There's all sorts of other stuff. Different brands of different things. Like spam is pretty good, but there's actually a cheap knockoff brand of spam, which is 2/3 of the price and about 2/3 of the quality as well. So you get what you pay for, I suppose. But I tried that, for example. Let me see, what else have I done that's just sort of random and strange things? I guess one thing I did was I tried like loads. I made an entire quest where I went to like a lot of different major supermarkets and tried their cheapest frozen pizzas to try and find out which cheap brand of frozen pizza was the best. And I made some discoveries there. This is just the sort of thing I do for fun. Okay, you gotta find some way to entertain yourself out here. Anyway, I thought 15 meals, like I can definitely, like, yeah, I still kind of want to eat chicken quesadilla from Taco Bell, but I don't want it enough that I would spend 15 meals worth of money on one meal. There are some meals that I would do that. Don't get me wrong. Do not get me wrong. I would do that. There are some meals that are worth that money, right? Like, there are plenty of like actual restaurants, that are worth that money. But a Taco Bell quesadilla is good, but is not worth it. Honestly, if you're ever, I think, although I do order delivery maybe once a month, it's really not worth it. You gotta be in beans, man. You gotta be bean pilled out here. You gotta be beans and rice pilled out here. Okay, now let's address some elephants. What are the elephants? So first elephant, I fixed my ball of sagiris. You can see the arrangement has slightly changed. I have fixed it with the better this stuff, Velcro, which I then attached to itself, which is strong. It's stronger double-sided to fix posters up there. Yeah, so that's all fixed and they're not going to fall down anymore. Next thing to address. Boom! 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 Check it out. The Funk Soul Brother. Okay, there it is. Is it a rabbit? We don't know. We still haven't figured it out. Is the order a rabbit? No one's figured it out yet. They're still asking the question. Double question mark. We still don't know. Is it? But what we do know is big ass Gotcha User poster, which is actually made of plastic for some reason and slightly transparent. Very cute, very good poster design. Big fan of it. This good. Peak. This pose from Chino, extremely dynamic. Big fan of this posing. The mouth circle, that's Moe. The sailor outfits. This is all very, very Moe. I'm a big fan of this poster. It's a big poster. I don't know if the scale comes across on camera, but like it's like more than double the size of horizontally than my regular posters, and it fills in this gap on my wall that has been bugging me forever. Might be my favorite poster, frankly, that I own. Very, very good poster. Big fan of it. And then I also got this other poster of Chino, which is up here. More regular sized poster. Those are both from Goods Republic, shipped from Japan. And I think they were actually not. I spent a lot of time trawling that website looking for good deals. It just so happened I actually did find a full-scale Yuno from Hidamari sketch tapestry that was going to be amazing. It was going to change my life. I added it to my basket. It was, I think, I don't remember how much it was, but it was not too expensive. And it was going to change my life. And then I put it in my basket, forgot about it for a couple of days, and then remembered, came back to the website, and it had literally jumped up to 147 pounds. It was not that when I added it to my basket. It was actually way, like, I don't know what the fuck happened, but yeah, I'm not paying that. As much as I love Yuno, as much as I'm a big fan of Yuno, that's just too much money for a tapestry. So I tapped out of that tapestry. But these two Gotchiusa posters were very good deals, especially this one. For the size, you know, the normal place I get my posters from, the bigger they are, the cost is like very, what's the word, exponential, getting bigger posters from that place. So buying, if I want something bigger, and with that, basically, if you look at the scale and the coverage, well, like, I think I'm pretty happy to say, with that poster being there, that this wall is practically, I'm not saying it's done, because there's obviously a big gap up there, there's two posters can go up there, and then maybe one up there, and then maybe above the door, not to mention, like, this entire wall. Like, there's plenty more space for posters, but, like, in terms of being egregiously empty, I think we're done. Like, I think the poster wall is now, like, no longer egregiously empty, and there is some egregious spacing over here. Like, these posters are way further apart than if I was redoing it, they would be closer together, and I would probably be able to fit like one extra poster on there. But you know, it's not a big deal. And again, like, compared to the real JP Otaku, like, these are really, really small posters. If you look at Japanese otaku rooms, they tend to have big tapestries and towels and daki covers rather than lots of little small posters. So this has probably not been cost effective. Like, if I was trying to be more cost effective, probably would have gone from the beginning with a bunch of bigger tapestries and daki covers and towels and that sort of thing. But I didn't really know that when I got started. So you live and learn, I suppose. There's lessons for other walls. But yeah, there's still some space that are obviously time to fill in. But like, let's say I get too, like, this space is kind of too small for a portrait layout orientation poster. Like, really, this needs to be like two landscape posters, and then probably like some small here, and maybe another poster here, and then maybe two up there. And that's pretty much it for the walls, because putting stuff down, if I put stuff really down at the bottom here, it's just going to get like fall off, I feel like. But no, this is pretty good. Pretty happy with this. Pretty much feel good about everything. Feel good about everything here. This is a really, I really love this artwork. It's so good. The posing is so dynamic. Yeah, big fan of it. Okay, next. Oh yeah, so let me talk a little bit more about posters. So I've spent quite a lot on posters. Like, this wall is pretty expensive. I spend more on posters than most, like, otaku I see. And the reason is because I'm very picky. Like, I could have definitely finished this wall much, much, much faster if I was just going with quantity over quality. Lots of people, they just go on eBay, buy old Megami magazines, and put up every single poster they find, even of shows they don't particularly like or whatever. I don't want to do that. And there's a couple reasons. I don't ever want to have posters for shows I don't like. Like, there are some shows on here that aren't my favorites. Like Strike Witches is not my favorite show ever, but like, it's still meaningful to me. For complicated, well, it's not that complicated, but for reasons basically, Strike Witches is meaningful to me. Like, I don't want to have shit on this wall that doesn't hold some sort of special place. Or at least I don't want to look at a character on my wall and be like, oh, this fucking bitch, this, you know. So that's the first thing. And the second thing, I think the more important thing, is for people who just buy lots of posters from Megami magazines, or like buy a bunch of Megami magazines and hang up the posters from there. Like, the thing about Megami magazines is I have a bunch of Megami magazine art. Like, a bunch of these are from Megami magazines. This one's from Megami, this one's from Megami, this one's from Megami, right? But I've been very careful because Megami is pretty famous for having like kind of jank art a lot of the time. You can find a lot of really jank art on Megami magazines. There's famously this one K-On! One. I don't know if it's famous to anyone other than me, but I've seen it so many times. I've seen this image so many times that it's like burned into my brain. There's this K-On! Poster where they're all like on a couch, they're all on a sofa together. But if you like look at it for more than 5 seconds, the perspective like doesn't make any fucking sense. Like, some of them are in front of each other, but it implies that the couch is like super, super long for there to be enough space. But that doesn't make sense with the perspective of how big the couch actually is. Like, there's, if you can look this up, I'm sure you'll find it. Like, anything like that, any of these posters with like bad art, it would fucking, if I had one of those on my wall, it would drive me fucking insane. Like, I would just do nothing but stare at it and think about that for the rest of my life. So I have to be really careful because I have to spend a lot of time searching through posters and looking at the art to make sure I don't notice any errors. Because I know for a fact that if I put a poster up and then I notice an error in the art, at some point, it's going to drive me fucking insane. Because I've had that before with like wallpapers and stuff. Like, I'm just that kind of person. I'm just that kind of person. I can't fucking deal with that. So like, yeah, I've been very, very selective with the posters that I have put up. And that's why it's taken me such a long time to fill this wall out. Okay, this wall, on the other hand, was not selective. This wall, you already know the story if you've seen my video about where I got all these posters from. But frankly, it raises another issue, which is I don't really know what to do with this wall now, because, like, look, I think Edo Manga Sensei is a pretty fun anime. You know, I know a lot of people hate it. I actually rewatched it recently. I think it's decent. I think it's fine. I think it's like a strong 6 to a light 7. But like, I don't like it that much. I don't like it that much. I'm actually reading the manga right now. I like it, but I don't like it that much. And it's like, I don't like it enough to spend real money on posters. But I got these posters super, super, super cheap, and they're super low quality because of that. It's like, I don't know if I want this to genuinely be a wall of Sagiri only, you know? Like, I don't know what to do about this, because it's obviously got gaps in it. I mean, I guess I can just fill that in with random shit. Like, it's not actually a problem, right? I can just fill this wall in with random fucking bullshit, I suppose. And then there is also like one other thing, which is this wall. Like, this, I don't want to touch this wall. I like the way that this is blank except for the back of the Monarchs, which is what this deck of cards is called. But this wall, like, I don't really want to put posters on it. But what I kind of do want, and what I have wanted for a while, was to turn this into shelves, and then I could put like shit on it. For example, figures. But I don't really want to start a figure collection because figures are just way too expensive in the West. So like, it would be useful to have shelves here just to put shit on. But I don't know. So this wall is still to be determined. As you can see, it has like Velcro. I hang like my portable charger, beer opener, USB stick. Like, I use it to put Velcro stuff attached to it. But like, I don't know. I don't fucking know what I'm gonna do with this wall. I still need to figure that out. Right. So that's posters. I think I don't have anything else to say about that. Okay. Next is anime. So, I've been pretty burnt out on anime because I just watched like 50 fucking subpar isekais and narokais like back to back to back, and it was too much for me. And I've honestly just it's too much reading. Frankly, I've just been doing like my eyes just kind of go blurry. It's just a lot, right? And I've also so it's just a lot, and I've not been sleeping very well recently, just for some reason. Um, I don't really know why. But anyway, what I have been doing is I've put aside all the shows that I planned on watching, and instead I'm trying to watch this show called Endoro, which I had actually dropped before, but I have no idea why. This is another example what I was talking about, where I drop shows for some reason. Although in this case, I dropped it on episode 6, which I don't really know. I don't remember why. I remember thinking it was boring, but I'm watching it back now. I'm giving it a second chance. I don't know why I dropped the show. Like, it's actually really good. Endero is actually really good. Like, slice of life, cute girls doing cute things, but fantasy. And because it's fantasy, kind of vaguely, it's not actually an isekai, but it's like it's a Dragon Quest type setting. It fits into this video. So Endero. Hopefully, when I finish Endero, that'll be the end of this video. And then I really want to just go hard on visual novels. I don't know if I'll make a video about it, but I really just want to finish the 2 visual novels or 3 visual novels that I'm actually reading to make space for Precure. So I gotta fucking finish Endero, edit this video, and then go fucking hard on finishing Clover Days, Nukitashi, and if I get around to it, getting back to Kazoke. Yeah. Is there anything else I need to say? No. Let's watch more Endero, and I'll give you my opinions on that when I finish it. I want to be completely honest with you guys. I had burned out completely on anime, and it's partially because I got sick and stuff I'll elaborate on in my next video. But I could not make it through Endero. But I don't want to say I've dropped it necessarily. I just I don't know why. I just became completely unable to focus on anything for like days, and this video has been sitting unfinished on my phone the whole time, and it's annoying me, and I keep doing this where I don't finish videos, and then people post on Denpa-chan like, "Is no thank you dead? Oh my god, is he dead? He hasn't posted a video in ages." I'm not dead. I just keep failing at finishing videos. So this one I'm just gonna finish right now. Who knows how good Endero? I actually am of the opinion that Endero starts off really good and kind of gets worse as it goes on. But honestly, part of that might just be my own burnout or something. I don't really know.